Good morning, everybody. Apologies for the delay in starting this morning. We had a bit of a technical glitch. I'm Christine Cooke, founder of The Engine and leading business advisor. And we're live this morning talking about the benefits of a board structure for small to medium businesses in New Zealand. I'm joined with the other advisors in The Engine, Christine Rankin and Peter Cooke. Hi, Christine. How are you doing in Taupo with these temperatures changing?
Good morning, Catherine. It's been absolutely freezing here for the last week. We were getting to 5 degrees at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I know you've been sunning yourself somewhere and you can't relate to this, but it's been freezing.
Well, the good thing is New Zealand's got Jason Momoa in New Zealand and he's been promoting hot tubs in the snow. So I'm sure everyone in Taupo would be hoping Jason's heading to Taupo right now. I know I'd be down there in a flick of a switch, but don't tell Peter that. Hey, look, we've delivered a few LinkedIn Lives around governance, and I'm not here to debate whether governance is necessary for businesses of any size. I mean, the bottom line is if you're in business, you should be practicing good governance. And I'm going to start out the gate with a statement we three champion, that good governance delivers on the business of the promise. Oh, sorry, let me start again. I'm having a technical glitch. That good governance delivers on the promise of the business. Peter, starting with you being a CX specialist, what does this mean for you with respect to governance?
Yeah, hi, and good morning, everyone. I guess I've talked before about how the voice of customer brings really essential insights into your business to help you with growth, and customer experience governance needs a framework that helps businesses measure the experience and also creating a definition of just what success is for the business in terms of its customer experience delivery and how to measure the performance of that success. So having a board that can bring in external experience to the table is really essential. And in my experience, many businesses forget to bring the voice of the customer to the business and board table. So engaging a CX specialist like myself on your board and bringing with it the discipline of structure around that will have you seeing positive changes that you can gain from the insights you get from getting that feedback from the very heart of your business, which is your customer.
Oh, absolutely love it. I mean, the heart is the customer. Without the customer, we don't have a business, right? So, we quite often forget about it. And who is the customer? Well, the customer is anybody that's engaging with your business. So, Peter, absolutely love that. And right now people are dropping off in the recession with their spending around marketing and understanding about, the customers and gaining those insights. So, when you get insights, that's learnings and that shapes the business in a positive way. I mean, Christine, you've been transforming businesses through better leadership and governance for a good part of your career. What does good governance delivering on the promise of the business mean for you? And I got it round the right way this time, no tongue tying.
Look, in this current environment where business is very, very challenging for everyone, I don't think I've come across any business owner in a long time now that said everything's really easy. Good governance just adds, well, it can get you through a really tough time because other people's brains and their experience and ability can give you ways out of things that you've never ever thought of. But it creates accountability, and I think it helps the staff to feel a lot more secure that there are a group of people that are looking at the issues and working together to fix it at a different level. It's making sure that everything's in place. And I think that capability and accountability are the two things that are really important in business at the moment. And definitely governance provides that.
Yeah, look, I love those two words, capability and accountability. And I was actually reading a blog that came through last night and talking about how, CEOs are getting younger and younger and they don't have that breadth of experience that we've all had to go through. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being young and being a CEO. I mean, I was running a business too at a young age, but the reality is that, you bring that experience to the table, and what you don't have, you then go and get that external experience. So I guess it's the very essence of what we do is building capability and accountability with what the three of us do within the Engine. And, you know, with working with business owners, we dive into the art of, I love talking about the art of when we're building structures, strategy and framework. And I want to talk about the art of good governance. Peter, what does this mean to you?
Quite simple, really, Catherine. It's about the work that we do with companies in good governance is all about working smarter, not harder. We approach this with, you know, sufficient checks and balances so that it holds the board and the business accountable, but doesn't impact the ability of the board to navigate strategic objectives and challenges, or limit management in taking the actions that they need to be implemented. So I guess where the blurring occurs in boards is when operations starts to bog down the focus at the expense of, you know, the strategic focus. And they are very different conversations that then do merge together, but at a board level, that strategic and overall governance and stewardship of the business is the key focus rather than the detailed day-to-day operations.
Yeah, quite often it's important that you have a well, not quite often, but it's important that you have a really good chair managing that board, because you know, it's very easy to go off track, and then suddenly you're faced with an hour of a discussion that wasn't actually even on the agenda. So actually having you know, operations very much as a separate conversation and not at board level is really what being on a board is all about. So I want to dive into what we do here at the Engine with our governance advisory. We've got what we call a service, our executive board, and it offers board structure, business security, stakeholder confidence, and adversity resilience for the risk averse. And, you know, Christine, you know, good governance is more than just having a few structures in place. We know that. So other than your extensive experience at the top and in leadership, what do you personally bring to a board table for businesses?
You know, I've just been part of a new board for the last 4 or 5 months. It's not a new board, I'm new to that board. And I just got an email from the chair about 2 days ago saying that I'm a breath of fresh air, that the things I've picked up in the first agenda, I picked up something that has gone on for a long, long period of time and should have been dealt to. I am very, very clear about business process and about cultures, and I pick up as soon as I'm involved in something the gaps that are there. And I don't think that you hammer that in a horrible way. You help to fill those gaps. And I have got a lot of experience on boards. I've chaired boards. I chaired the Sir Peter Blake Marine Educational Resource Centre, and it was about to go bankrupt. And we took that board from that state to an absolutely thriving organisation. I think you've got to be aware of all the components that make an organisation work and be very courageous. I'm not afraid to speak up, and if I see something wrong, I will raise it. And I think it's the way you do that that is really, really important. The other thing, Catherine, is I am a leader. That is my profession. And you and I both know that leadership is disregarded in New Zealand. But I bring a leadership perspective to a board, and so many organisations, as we know, do not put the emphasis on leaders. I question leadership, and I question the processes that support leadership. And every board I've been involved in has not had them in place. They do now, but I think that's a real gift.
Yeah, oh, look, it is a gift. And, you know, talk about the strength. You do have to have the strength, and you have to have that conviction of what you're saying when you're actually talking from that experience of why it's important. And quite often, I've actually walked away from boards, not immediately, but when I've actually started to see that people's purpose and agenda for being on board has not actually been there for any value add, but really just to sit there and go, oh, I sit on this board and I sit on that board. If you're there for that reason, you're doing a huge injustice to the business or the organisation that you're sitting on the board for. You must bring value to that board and strength. And like you said, you've got to be filling in the gap. I mean, the whole reason of having people at the board, different minds, is to bring that external experience of what you don't see when you're inside the business. So what's happening out there, bring that talent to the table, right?
The sad thing I find often with boards is the whole focus is on finance. yes, it's absolutely vital, but all the other things feed into finance. If you don't have the other things operating, especially the support for your staff, and as Peter always emphasises, the customer being at the focus, what on earth's the point of concentrating on the finances? Because they'll never change if you don't change the other aspects.
Well, they say cash is king, but unless you've got a strategy on how you build your cash, and it's sales and marketing and customer experience and leadership, you've got to have that talent on the board. Peter, what experience do you bring to a board?
I guess I have a lot of experience across a broad range of business areas. So, and built up over being involved in many corporates, a lot of experience in strategy, business planning, operations oversight, and just a sort of a generic, holistic view of business in general. And whilst I have a specialization in customer experience, it allows me to bring a particular customer-centric focus to any organization. And I think that's really critical at a board level, as Christine touched on. There's so much emphasis on finance that it's important to have a voice of the customer at the table at all times as well, so that it puts the customer at the front and center of any business decisions and direction. And it's very easy to leave customer out. Surprisingly, I'm astounded at how many businesses talk so much about everything else but the customer. And at times, as Christine mentioned, they forget to focus on their people as well. I'm also a business owner as well, with multiple businesses on the go at any one time. And so I've got hands-on experience that I can also bring to a board.
Yeah, and while Christine talks about strength, I guess the key attribute that I see in all of us is that we also have a degree of calmness, so we can actually, whilst we're passionate about what we do, we can approach it in a way that takes people on the journey without reactivity. It's done in a calm approach, strategic approach, considered approach, and that makes it a lot more credible to take people down that road. Look, when we each visit potential businesses to work with them, we always seem to come up with the same themes. I mean, business owners are juggling so many aspects of their business. They're pulled into the trenches, to the shop floor, as we call it, constantly putting out fires with the banks, legal claims, staffing issues, and workplace incidents. It's amazing the amount of businesses that I actually speak to that don't even know that they're actually in the recovery section of the bank. Their brand, their reputation, their finances, they're all at critical risk. Small problems are like small fires, leaving a small problem unattended because you're too burned out to deal with it. May seem like a good strategy at the time, but if you have to choose which fires to put out because you're too burned out to deal with all of them, you're inevitably going to put your business further at risk. Peter, how do you approach governance advisory with potential clients?
Yeah, look, I think no matter what the business owner is dealing with, we at the Engine, our team have seen it all before. And so we could provide that, as you said before, the peace of mind and calmness that sometimes business owners need in the face of challenge and things that they're having to deal with, and the firefighting, as you say, that they're having to manage. And each of us brings a unique blend of life experience and expertise to the table as well. So we know all about business pain points. We get excited when we're participating in the building of strategic, actionable structure for businesses to help them regain that accountability at the stakeholder level. And I think we're able to gain the trust of clients really quickly because of that approach that we bring.
Yeah, and look, just coming back to what you were saying, Christine, about filling the gaps. I mean, with what Peter's saying and what you're saying, it's identifying those opportunities and risk. When we're working with boards, it's how do we help those businesses identify those opportunities and risk, and assist in building fit for purpose governance structures in line with the vision. And that's something that we talk about quite often, Christine. Many companies still don't have a vision. They still don't know where they're going. They're happy to board a bus that says nothing, we're going nowhere. And if you don't know where you're going, well, it's no wonder you're going to end up going nowhere, or ending up at a destination where, hey, I didn't think I was going there, right?
When I go into businesses, they'll often proudly show me their vision. And Nobody knows what it is. Sometimes it's framed. Someone showed me a framed vision and I said, well, where is the example of how this is lived and how do your people know about it? Well, it was the most boring vision you've ever seen. Nobody would be inspired by it and nobody talked about it. It wasn't a reality. But what I want to say, Catherine, is that what we bring, I mean, we've got so many resources at the Engine that I'm so proud of. And when I look at you and Peter and I and what we bring to companies, if they haven't got governance, having one of us individually is like having a board in their ear, because we do pick up all those things. But the advantage we bring when we become part of their board, and I experienced this with the South Island company, the managing director wanted to do a lot of development. The board didn't want to do the development. As soon as he brought me on board, even though I wasn't a voting board member, I was still a board member and I could raise anything. That dramatically changed because I was able to support what he wanted to do and be another voice. And we do that all the time. And I love it. That's what makes me so excited.
Yeah, and also it reduces the conflict, right? Because if you don't have a vision, it's no wonder stakeholders are upset because nothing's being delivered and what they're expecting. So the alignment of expectation versus outcome are going to be very, very different because everyone's going to be delivering what they think they're delivering is right, but it's not actually going to the same destination. So it's no wonder you've got Mary at the back of the bus and she's still looking out the back going, oh, wonder where we are, or the start of the bus or whatever. You know, at the end of the day, if you have a vision, you know exactly where you're going, then you share the vision and take people on that journey and look at how are we going to do that? That's that mission. But it's also got to be in agreement with what are the stakeholders wanting to do, because they're the ones that are providing, you know, the risk, and it's got to be sustainable value back to those stakeholders. So start with where are we going, and understand what that looks like, because for everybody it's got to be the same, for all the stakeholders. So that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But I guess really we bring that fresh perspective, the good governance expertise, and we're delivering results with companies we are working with. You know, I mean, they're sleeping well at night. They've got more clarity. So Christine, coming back to you again, what fresh perspective do you offer to a company board?
My unique perspective is leadership. As I said to you before, I'm very intuitive about what's going on in an organisation, so I'm very connected to the people that work in there. I only have to talk to a couple of people and I get the picture straight away and I know what needs to change. I've got a lot of energy. I'm very positive, and I think that makes a huge difference around a board table. I often find I've got the most energy of anyone sitting around there, because success is what I thrive on, and helping someone else to succeed. And you know, the ways to do it are actually quite simple and straightforward. People just don't know. You can write 20 visions and they'll mean absolutely nothing if you do not know how to make them a reality in everybody's everyday world.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that, because the first conversation most business owners will say to me, can you help me write the vision? Or can you write the vision? And I go, well, I can help you write the vision. I can help you facilitate it, but I can't write it for you because you're the one that's going to be living and breathing this. This is your risk. This is your journey, and I'm here to help you. But I'm not going to be living in your shoes for the rest of the, you know, the days of your business. I'd like to stay here for the rest of the days of your business, but at the end of the day, it's your shoes. So you've got to know where you're going, the appetite for that risk. And also, you know, any other stakeholders, are they in agreement with all of that? So, you know, coming back to leadership, it's that whole leadership conversation that builds that design for implementation. So quite an important piece, Christine, that you raised quite a lot, and it's so valid. So I want to discuss my biggest bugbear, and I just talked about it a bit before, about board. I mean, if you have a board, it's got to be effective. It's got to bring effective value to your company. You know, ideally board appointments should be based on needs of experience, which can also be networks. And like recruitment, there needs to be a planning around needs and process for appointment before charging into appointment. The amount of appointments that I say of, oh, I knew so-and-so, so I'm going to have them on my board. Well, that might be great, but do they actually fit the needs and the experience? strategically it might work if, for example, let's say it's Dan Carter and you want profile and network, that might be what you need in your business. But if it's not, somebody of a high profile, and you need somebody more in the basis of, sales strategy or and marketing strategy, you make sure you bring the person on that's not just going to give you the profile, but is also going to give you that strategy and, help you frame it. So, Christine, I know you, Peter and I have seen ineffective board members. So what advice do you have, Christine, should board members appointed be ineffective?
Oh, I think you've got to face it straight away. You'll know after 2 or 3 meetings whether they're going to be effective or not. You're paying for these people to give you this advice. If they're not delivering, I think you've got to give them a chance to do that. But if you're not hearing from them, you need to take them aside and find out how they're finding it, and then give them your expectation very clearly, which you should have done in the first place anyway, but you need to remind them. And look, if it's not working, you've got to have an honest conversation. This is the future of your business. This is about the people you're employing and them paying their mortgages. You can't afford to waste that money on people who are not competent, and employers do choose the wrong people to sit around their table, as you said, Catherine. Very dangerous thing to do. It's not someone you know and like, it's someone who'll challenge you and support you.
Oh, absolutely, and like you said, it is a lot of money and it's a lot of time being invested. And I come back to prevention over cure. If you actually plan what you need from the outset and really stick to that brief. You might get someone who comes along that maybe doesn't completely fully fit that brief, but at the end of the day, start with the brief of what you need first. And if it's an out of the box, then go, does it still work for me? For me, it's really simple. Being a board member is the value you bring and your participation. Participation, what does that look like? Well, for anybody, it could be different for you, Christine, to Peter, to I, but for all of us here in this room, we know it means, reading previous board minutes, actioning anything from those minutes you agreed to, looking at board papers ahead of a meeting, participating towards feedback for the upcoming agenda, and considering your value on topics. Gosh, the amount of board meetings I've attended where it feels like we're having that same previous board meeting again as no one put the effort in. Peter, I hate Groundhog Day. I hate repeating things over and over again. So what's your top tip for an effective board meeting?
Yeah, look, I think it's really, really important to have an agreed agenda and structure in terms so that everyone in the board knows what they're going to be responsible, accountable, and expected to deliver at each meeting. And if it needs a chair, it needs a secretary potentially if it's a big enough board. And because with robust discussion, that you want to encourage that, but you want the chair to sort of keep things under control. A really effective board meeting must have really clear, timely minutes circulation and agendas, so that everybody attending knows just what they're supposed to bring to the table on the day and what's going to be the expected outcomes for the meeting. I think that's really, really key. And everyone also needs to understand it's not an operational meeting. It is about focusing on the governance and strategic and overarching business performance. And sometimes that's challenging to keep on track, and that's why it needs a strong chair to keep the focus. But the other thing I think that makes an effective board meeting is for the board members to keep in touch between meetings as often as they can as well, which really shows that they're invested in the business, so that there is some collaboration there. It's not just individuals coming along to a meeting and then disappearing at the end.
Absolutely, all really good points. And I guess for me, it's just really to show you're invested, that you're not just here to get a check every month or bi-month or however frequently these board meetings are. Show you're invested, show that you really are here about the business and can bring that value to the table. Christine, what are your top tips for an effective board meeting through your experience?
Oh, look, I agree that you need a chair that is strong and facilitative. A board that I was elected to had a very strict chair who didn't like any criticism. And of course, I was the twit that criticised him when everyone else was talking about it. And that we actually ended up really respecting each other. But I think you've got to choose carefully. You don't need a big board. You need a really effective board. So choose your people carefully. And as Peter said, your chair is crucial. So they've got to encourage debate, not put up with any nonsense, but be open to what people have got to contribute. I think that's key. If your chair's not the best, the board's going to struggle.
Yeah, look, I mean, governance is serious business, but you want to have fun at the same time. I mean, the whole point of being there is you have an interest in the business to succeed, which we've talked about being success. You know, it's got to be able to have agility to move and react as required. You know, I mean, that's the experience that you're bringing to the table. And, you know, I guess with the three of us in the work we do with our experience and expertise, you know, we deliver the governance transformation that's required. You know, for us, a well-structured appointed board fosters healthy collaboration, which you touched on before, Peter, between the board and company management, promoting open communication and a strong working relationship. I know we've covered off a lot in a short space of time today. I really do want to touch on how important it is that governance is actually bedded into your business. People still don't see the importance of it until it becomes a very serious pain point, i.e. the risk that being created is now suddenly a financial burden. Might be that you're in a court and you know for Employment Relations Authority or in the courts regarding a WorkSafe incident. And it's really interesting, you know, we've now got employees participating where they need to have been. I mean, obviously, when the law came in around health and safety at work, in the workplace, and participation was for all. Back in 2015, we've now got employees participating. We've got a recent newspaper media excerpt that talks about the whistleblower. Well, I don't really like using the word whistleblower. I like using the word that that person was proactive and participating in obviously creating a healthy environment. But the bottom line is you've now got employees taking responsibility for keeping people alive at work. So it's great that they're participating, but it starts with you as the business owner and ensuring that you've got that good governance to mitigate those risks. It's not just also about compliance and mitigating the risk, it's also about opportunities and bringing that knowledge to the table. So Peter and Christine, thank you so much for coming today, and hopefully business owners have enough to understand what practicing and governance is all about, the importance of how the effectiveness of a board structure can benefit the business growth and outcome. And this depends on various factors, as we've talked about, including the calibre of board members, industry risk and compliance, and the commitment to good governance practices. Regular board evaluations, they don't happen often either. I mean, you should be getting regular board evaluations done and getting that done also independently, looking at continuous improvement efforts are necessary to maintain a successful board structure. All of this is to maintain a successful board structure. Again, it all starts with a conversation with one of us from the engine. We'll give you the peace of mind, structure, support, expertise, and take away the noise to give you back your business confidence with high-level strategy and accountability focused on your goals. Let us do the heavy lifting. Christine, one quick reason why they should come and work with you for governance.
Oh, because I will definitely help them to improve their business quite considerably. I'm really confident about that, and I'll make it a lot safer.
And Peter, for you, why would they need to work with you and have you on the board?
Oh, I think, look, it's about bringing in people with experience, and I bring a lot of experience and calmness and pragmatic approach to making sure that businesses, you know, have a direction, and I'm also, like Christine, quite happy to challenge, question, and speak up too if I'm not a yes man. So you know, I think sometimes it's important for business owners to have confidence that people will challenge them and will not just go along. And if you've got a board that just plods along doing what the owner wants, then it's not an effective board.
Oh, perfect. And look, at the end of the day, it just does come down to experience. We do have a lot of experience. On Monday, I'm going to be joined by Lisa Mackay from HR Toolkit at 11 a.m. and we're going to be discussing government policies and business impact then. And no doubt we'll be also picking up some of this conversation around governance through some of the things that we're seeing happening out there with people not practicing within the rounds of legal requirements imposed on them in good faith and other. So thank you both for attending today. Really great to see you both, and see you on another LinkedIn Live post soon, talking about something else to do with business. Have a good day.